Europe is considered to be the fairest continent in the world, but it has been seen many times that racism is happening with many people in Europe and especially in Western Europe. But it is very less compared to the rest of the world. But there are some small towns in Europe where a lot of people have faced racism. We have made today's video after examining many media reports. I want you to watch this video completely before reaching any conclusion. So in today's video we are going to show you 10 most racist towns in Europe. But before starting the video, I want to request you, we put our best efforts to create our every single video. So please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's start. Number 10, Masera Italy. Masera is a city and commune in central Italy, the county seat of the province of Masera in the Marche region. It has a population of about 41,564. Masera Italy gained international attention in 2018 due to a particularly shocking incident of racial violence, which contributed to its reputation as a place with significant racial tensions. However, labeling the entire town as racist can be misleading, as many factors led to that tragic event, and not all residents share such views. The incident also reflects broader political and social issues present in Italy and Europe as a whole. The most notorious event that put Masera in the spotlight for racial issues was the 2018 racially motivated shooting carried out by a far-right extremist Luca Traini. Traini targeted and shot 6 African migrants in a rampage through the streets of Masera, all of whom survived. This attack followed the gruesome murder of an Italian woman, Pamela Mastropietro, whose body was found dismembered, and a Nigerian migrant was accused of the crime. Traini claimed his actions were in retaliation for her murder, using the incident to justify his racist attack on African people. This incident revealed a troubling undercurrent of xenophobia and racism in parts of Italian society, particularly against African migrants. It also highlighted the extent to which right-wing populism and nationalism had been growing in Italy. In the aftermath of the shooting, there were protests both in favor of and against Traini's actions, illustrating that the town is divided on these issues, just as many other places are. There are many people in Masera who are working to promote tolerance and inclusion, and the town, like the rest of Italy, continues to grapple with how to address the challenges of racism and xenophobia. Italy has been one of the primary entry points for migrants and refugees arriving in Europe from North Africa and the Middle East. The influx of migrants, particularly from African countries, has caused significant social and political tensions in Italy, especially in smaller towns like Masera that may feel overwhelmed by the changes. Number 9, Dover, United Kingdom. The town is the gateway to the continent, controlling the English Channel and known as the Lock and Key of England. Due to this key strategic position, Dover has been the subject of several attempts at invasion. Julius Caesar tried to land at Dover during the Roman invasion of 55 BC. The population is about 39,078. The arrival of migrants in large numbers has led to fear and misconceptions among some locals, who may view them as a threat to security, jobs, or resources. This has fueled anti-immigrant sentiment in certain parts of the community. There have been reports of hostility and confrontations between some residents and migrants in the town. Migrants have faced verbal abuse, and there have been incidents where locals have protested against the presence of asylum seekers. Some residents express frustration with the government, believing that Dover has been unfairly burdened by the crisis. The anti-immigrant sentiment in Dover reflects a broader trend across the UK, where nationalist and populist movements have gained support by promoting anti-immigration policies and rhetoric. The Brexit referendum in 2016, which led to the UK leaving the European Union, was heavily influenced by concerns over immigration and border control, which have been particularly felt in towns like Dover. While Dover has gained a reputation for being hostile towards migrants, it's important to recognize that not all residents share these views. Many people in Dover actively oppose racism and xenophobia, and there are local organizations and activists working to support migrants and foster understanding. The media has often focused on the far-right protests and clashes in Dover, which can sometimes amplify the perception that the entire town is racist. In reality, the protests have been organized by groups who travel to Dover from other parts of the country, and they do not necessarily reflect the views of the majority of the town's residents. Some of the frustration in Dover stems from what locals see as the government's failure to effectively manage the flow of migrants and provide adequate resources to the town. This frustration is sometimes misdirected towards migrants themselves, leading to tensions. Since Brexit, there has been an increase in border security efforts in Dover, including more patrols along the coast and at sea. These efforts have heightened the visibility of the migrant issue and, in some cases, contributed to further tensions between locals and migrants. Number 8. Lampedusa, Italy. Lampedusa, a small island in the Mediterranean Sea, has become a symbol of Europe's migrant crisis due to its geographical location between North Africa and Italy. The population of Lampedusa is normally around 6,000 people. However, the population can increase dramatically when migrants arrive on the island. You will be surprised to know this. In September 2023, more than 7,000 migrants arrived on Lampedusa in 2 days, doubling the island's population. The migrants were traveling on small boats from Africa. The island's reception center could only accommodate 400 people, and some migrants were sent to Sicily. Lampedusa is a small island with limited healthcare, housing, and public services. The constant arrival of migrants, many of whom need immediate medical attention or accommodation, has stretched the island's resources to the limit. Local residents have voiced concerns about the impact this has had on their daily lives, particularly when local services are already scarce. These tensions sometimes manifest in ways that can be perceived as hostility or xenophobia, but the root causes are complex and tied to broader social, economic, and political issues rather than an inherently racist local population. Many locals rely on tourism and fishing as their main sources of income, and the migrant crisis has affected both industries. The negative portrayal of Lampedusa in the media as a migrant hotspot has deterred some tourists, leading to economic losses. Additionally, some locals worry that the constant migrant arrivals will harm the island's reputation as a peaceful holiday destination. Some locals, influenced by anti-immigrant rhetoric, have expressed frustration with non-governmental organizations that rescue migrants at sea and bring them to Lampedusa. They feel that the presence of these organizations encourages more migrants to make the dangerous journey across the Mediterranean, adding to the island's burden. However, not all residents share this humanitarian outlook. The continuous strain and perceived lack of support from the government have led some to express xenophobic sentiments, blaming migrants for the island's struggles. This division reflects broader tensions in Italian society, where there is both sympathy for migrants and growing support for stricter immigration controls. Number 7. Molenbeek, Belgium. Molenbeek, a neighborhood in Brussels, Belgium, is often associated with negative stereotypes and has gained a controversial reputation, particularly due to its links to radicalism and terrorism. However, labeling Molenbeek as a racist town would be inaccurate and simplistic. The issues in Molenbeek are complex and revolve around a range of social, economic, and political factors, including radicalization, marginalization, and integration challenges, rather than overt racism in the conventional sense. Here's an explanation of why Molenbeek has been associated with tensions and how race plays a role in the broader context. As of January 1, 2022, the municipality had a population of 97,697 inhabitants. Molenbeek has a high concentration of immigrants, particularly from Morocco and other North African countries, many of whom arrived during the mid-20th century to work in Belgium's industrial sector. Over time, Molenbeek became known as a neighborhood with a predominantly Muslim population, with many second- and third-generation immigrants living there. Molenbeek gained international attention after the 2015 Paris attacks and the 2016 Brussels bombings, as several of the attackers were found to have connections to the neighborhood. It was described in the media as a hotbed of radicalism, with reports that radical networks had recruited disaffected youth in the area. Residents of Molenbeek, particularly those of North African and Muslim backgrounds, often experience racial discrimination, both in the labor market and in daily life. Many feel that they are treated as outsiders despite being born and raised in Belgium. Reports of job discrimination against people with foreign-sounding names, racial profiling by police, and a general atmosphere of suspicion toward Muslims contribute to the tensions in the area. Number 6. Malmo, Sweden. Malmo, Sweden, has often been portrayed in the media as a city with significant racial tensions, but labeling it as a racist town is an oversimplification. Malmo, Sweden's third-largest city, is known for its diverse population, with a large number of immigrants from Middle Eastern and African countries. Like many urban areas dealing with integration challenges, Malmo has faced complex social, economic, and political issues, which sometimes manifest in racial tensions. However, the situation is more about systemic challenges and misunderstandings rather than widespread racism. There are 362,133 residents living in Malmo. Malmo is one of the most ethnically diverse cities in Sweden. A significant portion of its population is made up of immigrants, particularly from countries such as Iraq, Syria, and Somalia. As of recent years, around 50% of Malmo's residents have a foreign background, making it a melting pot of cultures. There have been protests and demonstrations in Malmo, with far-right groups clashing with left-wing activists and immigrant communities. These tensions have occasionally escalated into violence, which further polarizes the population. With a large Muslim population, Malmo has been at the center of debates around Islamophobia in Sweden. There have been reports of discrimination against Muslims, including harassment, verbal abuse, and acts of vandalism targeting mosques. The visibility of Muslim communities and their cultural practices, such as wearing hijabs or attending mosques, has sometimes sparked negative reactions among segments of the local population. Many local organizations in Malmo are working to foster better relationships between different communities. Number 5. Antwerp, Belgium. With a population of 536,079, it is the most populous municipality in Belgium, and with a metropolitan population of over 1.2 million people. Antwerp has gained a reputation for racial tensions and issues related to immigration, particularly in certain neighborhoods. Antwerp has a diverse population, with significant communities of immigrants from various backgrounds, including North Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. The influx of immigrants has led to cultural diversity but also to challenges related to integration. The political climate in Belgium, including Antwerp, has increasingly included debates about immigration, identity, and national culture. This discourse can sometimes lead to an increase in xenophobia and racial prejudice. Many immigrants and people of color in Antwerp report experiences of discrimination in various aspects of life, including employment, housing, and education. These experiences contribute to feelings of exclusion and resentment. Reports of racial profiling by law enforcement can further strain relations between immigrant communities and authorities. This can create a sense of alienation and distrust among residents who feel unfairly targeted. Cultural differences between native Belgian residents and immigrant communities can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts. Issues related to language barriers, religious practices, and social norms may create friction and contribute to tensions. While some areas of Antwerp experience racial tensions and discrimination, it's essential to recognize that not all residents share these views. Many locals actively promote inclusivity and work against racism and xenophobia. Racism in Antwerp, as in many places, is not a monolithic issue. It manifests in various forms, including systemic discrimination and individual biases. Addressing these issues requires nuanced understanding and concerted efforts from both communities and authorities. Number 4. Rome, Italy. Rome, historic city and the capital of Italy. It is in the central part of the Italian peninsula, on the Tiber River. Rome's 2024 population is now estimated at 4,331,970. In 1950, the population of Rome was 1,884,060. Labeling Rome, Italy, as a racist town oversimplifies a complex issue. While there are certainly challenges related to racism and discrimination in Rome, as in many urban centers, it is important to consider the broader social, historical, and economic contexts that contribute to these issues. The rise of far-right political parties in Italy, such as the Lega, formerly known as the Lega Nord, has contributed to the normalization of anti-immigrant rhetoric. These parties often exploit fears about immigration and cultural change to gain support, which can exacerbate racial tensions. Stereotypes about certain ethnic groups can contribute to prejudice and discrimination in various aspects of life, including employment, housing, and education. These stereotypes can be reinforced by media portrayals that highlight negative aspects of immigrant communities. Reports of racial profiling by law enforcement can lead to tensions between immigrant communities and authorities. This can create a sense of alienation among residents who feel unfairly targeted. The media's framing of immigrants and immigration can shape public attitudes and perceptions, often leading to increased fears and negative biases against foreign communities. There have been high-profile incidents of racism in Rome, including attacks on individuals from immigrant backgrounds, which have received media attention. These incidents contribute to the perception of Rome as a city where racism is prevalent. Many local organizations and NGOs in Rome work to promote integration, combat racism, and support marginalized communities. These groups aim to foster dialogue and understanding between different cultural groups. While Rome does face challenges related to racism and xenophobia, it is essential to recognize the complexity of the situation. Factors such as demographic changes, historical context, economic disparities, and political rhetoric contribute to the challenges the city faces. Number 3. Clichy-sous-Bois, France. It is possible that I may have made some mistake in pronouncing the name of this city. For this I am sorry. Clichy-sous-Bois, a suburb of Paris, has been associated with racial tensions and issues related to discrimination, particularly towards its immigrant population. Clichy-sous-Bois has a significant immigrant population, with many residents originating from North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and other regions. This diversity can lead to cultural clashes and tensions, particularly in a context of high unemployment and economic challenges. Clichy-sous-Bois gained national and international attention during the 2005 riots, which were sparked by the deaths of 2 teenagers of African descent who were fleeing police. The riots highlighted long-standing issues of police discrimination, marginalization, and frustrations within immigrant communities. The riots and subsequent unrest in the area left a legacy of tension between residents and law enforcement, contributing to perceptions of racial discrimination and social inequality. Many residents, particularly from immigrant backgrounds, report negative experiences with the police, including accusations of racial profiling and excessive policing. This has led to a deep mistrust of law enforcement among certain communities. The presence of police in certain neighborhoods can sometimes heighten tensions, as residents may feel unfairly targeted or scrutinized based on their ethnicity or socio-economic status. Many initiatives target youth in Clichy-sous-Bois, focusing on education, employment, and social engagement. These programs aim to empower young people and provide them with opportunities, thereby reducing feelings of exclusion and frustration. Number 2. Vienna, Austria. Vienna, Austria, is often noted for its cultural richness and historical significance, but like many urban areas, it has also faced challenges related to racism and xenophobia. At the beginning of 2023, Vienna had a population of 1,982,097 residents. Vienna's population by nationality and country of birth. Vienna has a diverse population, with significant communities of immigrants from Eastern Europe, Turkey, and other regions. This diversity can lead to cultural clashes and tensions, particularly in areas where economic competition is high. The influx of refugees and migrants in recent years, particularly from Syria, Afghanistan, and other conflict zones, has intensified discussions around immigration and integration. This has sometimes led to increased social tension and xenophobic attitudes. Reports of racial profiling by law enforcement can lead to tensions between immigrant communities and authorities. Many individuals from minority backgrounds report feeling unfairly targeted, which contributes to a sense of alienation. Incidents of racially motivated violence and hate crimes, while not representative of the entire city, contribute to the perception of Vienna as a place where racism is present and tolerated. Media coverage of immigration and crime often focuses on negative aspects, which can perpetuate stereotypes and contribute to public fear. The portrayal of immigrants in the media can shape public perceptions, leading to increased xenophobia. Some schools and community organizations focus on multicultural education and fostering understanding among youth. These initiatives are essential for combating prejudice and promoting acceptance among future generations. Engaging young people in discussions about diversity and inclusivity can help challenge stereotypes and promote understanding across cultural divides. Number 1. Calais, France. Calais, a port city in northern France, has become a focal point for discussions around immigration and racism, especially in light of its role as a major entry point for migrants trying to reach the United Kingdom. While it's important to acknowledge that racism exists in various forms and degrees in many places, the population of the city proper is 67,544. Calais has seen a significant influx of migrants and asylum seekers, particularly from regions like Syria, Afghanistan, Eritrea, and Sudan. The presence of large numbers of migrants living in temporary encampments has heightened tensions between locals and newcomers. The makeshift migrant camp known as the Jungle became emblematic of the crisis in Calais. Its existence highlighted the challenges of managing large groups of people seeking asylum, leading to increased public scrutiny and concern among residents. Stereotypes surrounding immigrants often portray them as criminals or burdens on social services, leading to public fears and biases. Such stereotypes can contribute to a climate of distrust and resentment among some residents. The media often focuses on negative stories related to migration, which can reinforce negative stereotypes and contribute to a heightened perception of danger associated with migrant populations. The presence of large groups of migrants can lead some residents to feel unsafe or threatened, particularly in areas where clashes between migrants and law enforcement occur. Such perceptions can foster fear and resentment towards immigrant communities. While not representative of the entire community, isolated incidents of violence involving migrants can amplify public fears and contribute to a narrative that paints the migrant population as dangerous. While Calais faces significant challenges related to racism and xenophobia, it is essential to recognize the complexities behind these issues. Factors such as the migration crisis, socioeconomic conditions, political rhetoric, and cultural stereotypes contribute to the perception of racial tensions in the city. At the same time, many residents and organizations actively work towards fostering understanding and inclusion. Addressing racism in Calais requires ongoing dialogue, education, and cooperation among diverse communities and local authorities to create a more inclusive society. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.